Welcome to the group chat. This week it's me and Jacqueline. Jacqueline, how you doing?
I'm good. I'm good.
We got a lot of things to talk about. Let's jump into it. First thing, let's talk about the NCAA tournament. I know I'm watching. Have you been watching?
A little bit. I'm rooting for South Carolina.
Okay, let's jump into the women's. Then I mean, the Final Four this year has all the top seeds, second year in a row. So we have South Carolina, UConn, Texas, UCLA. UConn's coming in on a 56 game winning streak,
Yeah.
and South Carolina, Don Staley has them in their sixth Final Four, I believe.
Yeah.
Yeah, wow, six straight Final Fours. And on the other side, you have Texas. It was hot. Texas is hot right now. Texas is a team that I've been watching, and UCLA. Texas is actually the only team to beat UCLA this year. So,
Yeah.
yeah. So you saying you going with South Carolina? Why is South Carolina your pick?
I'm rooting for Dawn because you know what I'm saying. You have players like her name is Tania Latson. She came up to play with Dawn, and she is taking less NIL money because she wanted to be a better all around player. So I feel like that speaks volumes. Is it going to translate? I don't know, but I'm always rooting for South Carolina.
Right. I mean, it seems like the two teams that we everybody wants to see they're not going to be able to play in a championship game. So one of them, will not be there in championship game, but I think it's going to be a good one. I mean, how can you not root for Dawn? I think with UConn, they had a little down period for a little bit the past few years. I mean, they were always right there, but wasn't as dominant. And now he seemed to have them back like they were a few years back when they were just, winning year after year after year, season after season. So that'll be a good game. I think South Carolina has to play their best game. UConn doesn't necessarily have to play their best to win, but I think South Carolina has to hit all cylinders. It should be a good game. I'm hoping it's not like the championship game last year where UConn won by 23, but it should
Yeah.
be a good game.
I'm looking
You
forward
got
to
with
it.
the yeah, you got the other matchup now. We got Texas, UCLA. Got the home team, UCLA, but Texas is on fire right now. Again, that's another team that's hitting on all cylinders. Team that beat UCLA early in the season. And I know we talked about this last week. I think UCLA they just have to, their role players have to play out of their mind. They have to hit their shots, and Kiki has to control the game because Texas is coming. They're going to keep coming. So that should be a good one to watch too.
Yeah. But what do you think it is? What do you think that Texas has that keeps pushing them?
I think you look at a team that's been together and it's been right there. So it ain't like years where they have fallen off. They've been right there and coming up short. I think this year it's just all coming together. I think the inside game, the point guard pushing it. I mean, they just have it all around, and they just have that infectious, and I guess joy. Like they love playing with each other. Like you can just see it. They're rooting for each other. And I think that's just a scary time. They've been there. They've been close, and I
Hmm.
think if they bring that energy and passion, and they don't have deep depth, so if no foul trouble, I think they might give UCLA some problems. But it'll be a good one. But I'm looking forward to both games. They should both be good games.
Yeah.
Let's touch over to the men's. So we have, I guess the big thing from the Elite Eight was the Duke UConn game. I know everybody has. If you didn't watch the game, you definitely seen the highlights from this point. I mean, it was a game where Duke. If you watch throughout the season and even in certain games in the tournament, Duke has always teetered on that line of almost giving a game away, but pulling it out. This
Hmm.
is one of those times where they had the game under control, let a team come back, which tournament happens, but kind of teetered on that line, and it finally backfired on them, and it backfired, I guess, at the worst time to send you home in the tournament, a game away from the Final Four.
That's painful.
Yeah. And it's actually, I think it's the Boozer twins' first time losing. I know all the way through high school, I think they won four straight championships. So that's their first time not finishing the season as a champion. But it was tough. I mean, it was tough to have that turnover in the game, and then for UConn, was it Mullins to hit that deep shot? I mean, that's what March Madness is all about. Definitely got me off my feet. what got me out of my seat, up off my feet as I was jumping in the air. So March Madness, you gotta love it. It was an exciting game. But now we're going into the Final Four. Some
Yeah.
strong teams. You have
Yeah.
UConn,
Yeah.
Illinois, Arizona, and Michigan. So I mean, those are some great teams. Michigan, watching them, they're strong. I mean,
Mhm.
they're blowing teams out. They clicking on all cylinders. Arizona plays similar. They got some big boys, strong guard play. Illinois is a unique team. They have, I think, four strong international players, some veteran players, a freshman that came out of nowhere, and then UConn. We just talked about UConn. UConn seems to always be there these past few years. Coach Hurley has those guys ready, so this should be a good tournament. I mean, it should be a good Final Four.
Yeah.
It's hard. If you're gonna pick who you got,
I got UConn
got
because
UConn.
they were back in even when I was in college back in '99. They were in it, so I'm like, you know what? They got it. They know what they're doing. They've been doing it this long.
That's the you're gonna choose from when you were back. Okay, I see how you go.
Just a couple of years ago. Just a couple of
Yeah,
years.
yeah. I think. I mean, to me, the game I will. As another way things are set up. I would love to see Michigan and Arizona in the championship, but unfortunately, one of them they got to play each other. So one of them are going to be knocked off. So it's
Mhm.
that's going to leave the winner of the UConn Illinois. I mean, it's I don't know if I'm gonna pick. I guess if I'm gonna take my pick just from watching, I would say prior to watching Michigan, I would have picked Arizona out of this
Mhm.
group, but I might have to go with Michigan. I just like the way Michigan's playing. But again, this is one where I think it's more top heavy in the women's side. I think with this one, I think this can be anybody's Final Four right here with these four teams.
Mhm.
Now, sticking to basketball, I want to stick to basketball, but kind of on I guess, a more somber note. You have Jaden Ivey, NBA player, was just waived by the Bulls.
Yeah.
But it's a player that I watch. His mom, Coach Ivy, she coaches Notre Dame's women basketball. Notre Dame legend. She was one of the first coaches to be an assistant coach, women's coach to be an assistant coach in the NBA, in the NBA with the Memphis Grizzlies, I believe.
Yeah.
But
And his dad, right? Dad played NFL.
yeah, dad played in the NFL. It's just been some, I don't know. It kind of got, I guess, a little out of character recently. He seemed to have saying he's found he's been saved or found Jesus and has been kind of come with a little erratic behavior for what we have known from him. And I always thought he's a great player. I watched him at Purdue.
Mhm.
Had some injuries and things, but amazing electric player who hasn't quite lived to the potential yet. Early on he has, but
Yeah.
he's young. I think he's 24, but it's kind of he's kind of went against I don't know if the trans he's the LGBTQ community kind of heavy and just saying some things. I think giving an impromptu sermon in the locker room and then going on some social media rants. And it's kind of unfortunate, and you get people weighing both sides, and you can understand both sides. I mean, people have freedom of speech and the right to say what you want to say, but I mean, the NBA is his employer. The Bulls is an employer. The NBA has a WNBA,
Mhm.
fans that you can't alienate. So, I think if it was just kind of a one off or a couple times that they could catch him, he could tone it down. But it's like he was doubling down and continuing to test him. And I think you didn't really have a choice, to me at this
Yeah.
point. And I heard he's getting his full $10 million salary, so they're not, waiving him without
Yeah.
paying him. But I
Yeah.
think they know it may be, and I think they may be concerned that there may be some mental issues going on there. What do you think?
Yeah, no, you know what? When I first heard it, I was like, get rid of him. But I did not realize the prior incidences and, just realizing that mental health was a factor. So
Right.
I'm not going to judge, right? I think I'm glad that the team is addressing that. But it's kind of twofold, right? Like they fire him, but now is he going to get the help that he needs?
Mhm.
Um, So I think that's kind of a concern too. And hopefully, you know, he's got family and things like that. He's got a wife. I think, I don't think they're really speaking to him right now. Um, but I'm hoping that somebody could step in and help him get the help that he needs.
Right.
But a lot of times when people are having a mental health crisis, they are not open to that, and
Right.
you can't take over for them, right? Because he's an adult. Um, so I pray for him. You know, he's a young guy, so I hope that he could get the help that he needs because we've seen people go downhill.
Yeah, I did see him say that, he had relatives coming out saying he's crazy, blood relatives, and wife not in contact with him and this and that. So, I mean, it's tough to see. I mean, it looked like, I guess, earlier, see, he spoke about depression this season. Said the old Jaden Ivey is dead. So yeah, I just hope. I mean, it's reminding me of one of my favorite players, a UConn legend. Now we talk about
Mm,
UConn, but was and actually played for the Bulls at the time, and Detroit. Both of it's ironic. He played for the Bulls and he played
mm,
for Detroit. Both of Ivy's teams is Ben Gordon. Ben Gordon was one of my favorite players. And then at some point in his career, he started having some of these, similar type of issues that, derailed his career. And he was later diagnosed being bipolar. Um,
mm.
so, he was able to identify, what his diagnosis was because he was suffering from depression, panic attacks, all of those things. And, it did derail his career. But more importantly, I mean, not the career, just your life,
Yeah.
I think he had a kid, and I think Ivy has kids. So, you just hope the young man gets the proper, diagnosis and treatment. Not when even thinking basketball now, just for life.
Right. Exactly. Especially if he has kids, you
Hmm.
don't want you want to be able to be there for your kids and for yourself, and he's so talented to not have all of that or not have the resources or not use the resources. He has the resources, but to not use them, that would be sad.
Yeah, because it always seems like a lot of times when I guess when mental health becomes an issue, especially in our community, I mean, it seems like it always gets heavy on religion. And it seems like it only always attacks the same group. So I mean, I don't know if it's been studies on that of why when he's bipolar or certain mental issues come about that religion becomes to the forefront and
Yeah.
it just attacks a certain group that. So maybe that's something, but something. It's probably a study out there. I have to look that up and see, but it seems like that's the pattern for some reason.
Yeah. You know what I am, you know, speaking of that mental health piece, I think that in the last 5 years, it's less taboo. So I'm hoping that, you know what I'm saying, he goes to get some help and really um, take takes heed to that. Not that religion is the problem, but they do go real far left
Right.
uh, sometimes.
Because yes, Coach Billy Donovan, I think he said in a statement, if I can see what he said, that he said, "I'm not a doctor, but I would say mental health is a real issue." And I think a
Mm,
lot of people came out with mental health is a issue. Why didn't they get him help? And we can't say that they weren't trying to get him help. Like
yeah.
you said, when they're going through this issue, they're not receptive to help.
No.
So it's hard to do that. I mean, we seen Mark Cuban, we seen try to help,
Oh,
players and get them
Delonte
if they're
West,
not
right?
there with Delonte West.
Hmm.
And but if that person isn't willing to, you know, get the treatment and stay on it and stay on whatever, course they have to or whatever that treatment is, whenever he's diagnosed, stay on that, pattern and everything they set up for you, that regimen, then it's not too much you can do. Um,
Yeah.
but just try to support in any way you can. And I think if he is trying to, if his sermons in the locker room, and if he is doing that, it does become a distraction to the team, and it is detrimental because now the players got to start answering for that. They have
Mm-hmm.
to, because they're gonna, what's going on in the locker room, or if he's doing it on the bus or on the plane or after a game. Yeah, it can be, and it can be, concerning, and you can't. Unfortunately, you can't have that. But I think, by still paying him, they recognize that, and hopefully he gets the help. Hopefully, this isn't we don't continue to get worse. Hopefully, this is the point where it starts to get better. He, recognizes he has a problem and gets that help.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, this is the point in the group chat where we're going to make a pivot and we're going to kind of jump into some politics. Let's talk Trump. So Trump, I guess let me see, one of his statements at his Easter lunch, he was talking about, I guess, budgeting and the war, and he said it's not possible for us to take care of daycare, Medicaid, Medicare, all these individual things. We have to take care of one thing: military protection. Then last night he gave that primetime address on the Iran war build as important update and offered nothing new, no timeline, no plan, no exit strategy, just vague threats, talk and talking points. I guess meanwhile, Republicans are openly discussing cutting another 200 billion from healthcare to fund this war. I guess what are your thoughts when you heard that?
Let me tell you something about this guy. You think about states like California, New York, Texas, Florida, Illinois. We pay the most federal taxes. So, okay, you don't want to pay those things and you say let the states handle it, then you don't take our money. You know what I'm saying? Like California it alone pays $200 billion in federal taxes every year. So if he wants to do that, do that. Don't take our money. Let us pay it to the state so we can take care of ourselves if that's what you want to do. But they can't make it. We pay more in federal taxes than we receive, I'm sure.
Right, right. I think this is one of the fears with Trump too, is that he could do things like this. He can create wars and start wars, and then the people have to pay for it. I mean, they already cut $1 trillion from
Yeah.
Medicaid in the big
Yeah.
beautiful bill. So
Yeah.
now you're saying you want to go back and gut it even more to pay for this war that nobody's really asking for, that seems to be hurting the economy, hurting the people, and then sending our troops into harm's way on a war that we didn't have to have.
Right.
Because I get confused. I thought a few, was it months back when he bombed them, that he destroyed any potential nuclear, capabilities that they had. So, and now it's the same pattern. They were 2 weeks away from building one, or the war is 2 weeks away from being over, and so it's a gloomy time with that and the uncertainty and just the chaos and and we, like I said, we're paying for it every time I go to the pump. You know,
Right.
I'm realizing how much you're paying for it. I mean, you go to the grocery store, you go to anything, you just see it getting more expensive, more
Right.
expensive.
Right.
And yeah, so um,
It's it's really crazy when you have Iran sending open letters to the US telling the US citizens, let us handle the missiles. We know that you guys don't have anything to do with this, that you guys didn't want this. Talking about the citizens. They said, let us handle the missiles and you guys take to the streets. Like that is wild that we have Iran trying to comfort US citizens about what's happening right now.
right, right. And I mean, it was like it was never a plan. I mean, it was never a plan, and you can tell every time. And this is the time where you can't really talk your way and just lie and say that, like, like normally this is has everything has consequences, but I mean, we're at war.
Right.
13 service members have died. Those are people's family members, that have died. And if we put boots on the ground, I mean, it's going to be more. And like he said, some of these wars last 13 years. This, that. I mean, we really about to get back into something like that. And a lot of people still, still blindly support it. Yeah, it just amazes me. And I guess we just have to continue to see and hope that it can be some kind of pushback to, or the line can be held where these cuts can't happen. Because if you continue to cut Medicaid and Medicare, well, it's a lot of people not going to be able to do anything. They're not
Right.
going to be able to get any kind of health care, any kind of treatment. So it's something we have to just continue to watch for. And then today, I fired Pam Bondi, which what any other time would be probably a great thing, which is still a great thing, but all it seemed like it's just like remove one, bring in someone even more intense. But
Worse.
maybe he was able to do it a little more discreetly. She wasn't fired because she was going against him. It's probably the way the Epstein files were handled and too much attention still on it, and
Yeah.
maybe even not as effective as he wanted. So maybe he's going to bring, maybe yeah, it's always a plan when somebody's fired and replaced. It's not nothing to, hip hip hooray about. Yes, she should have been fired. She should have never been in that position. But
Right.
what's coming is probably going to be just as worse, but a little more discreet with it.
Yeah, a lot worse because if you think about Christy Nome's replacement, right? Like he's not educated, not even halfway educated to be in that position. So, yeah, I think that he's looking for yes men and women that will, to him come do what I want you to do, but what he wants to be done is not it's not legal. So it's not because they're not trying. I'm sure they're trying all the things, but it's not legal.
Yeah. We'll see. This is another. I always say it's like I'm watching a movie or a series that Will Ferrell was the president, and these things are so outrageous that you would never think they could be possible or be true, and then you realize that it's way beyond what you could even imagine, and it's real, and people actually support it, and will die on that sword, and I just don't, some things I can't understand. I can understand, want to be a part, but when you see it and I mean, you continue to see it, that I'll never understand. But yeah, we just got to continue to buckle down, continue to try to navigate, continue to try to educate, and continue to move forward. We can't sit still, we can't sit back, but people got to continue to move forward. And our job and the job at the village media is going to be continue to inform on what's going on, what's affecting our communities, and also highlight things that's coming in our communities. So that's where we'll kind of leave things as we wrap this week's group chat. Is our goal is always to inform, educate, and also highlight our culture. So again, thanks for joining me today, and looking forward to next week. All right, well, that'll do it for this week's group chat. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and we'll see you next week.